everyone, my name is Jamie Mayfield. I am doing my research project for class TM350 and I am currently a senior. I will be graduating in spring of 2018. I chose to do my research project over cell phones, so let's get started. So first we're going to be going over the different types of materials that are actually used in the making of the cell phone. A lot of people think that they're made up of metals and glass, which is absolutely true. However, there's so much more that goes into those cell phones than you would naturally assume. First off, we're going to go over glass, and it's obvious to see that glass is a huge component of a cell phone, especially of the screen. But this isn't just any old glass. This glass is made from aluminum oxide and silicon dioxide. It has a extremely thin layer of indium tin oxide added, and that is basically so you can touch the screen without damaging it. Some smartphones such as Motorola or even Samsung use something called Gorilla Glass. It's a thin and lightweight toughened glass, and it's supposed to be made to make it more durable. As far as metals go, a cell phone is made up from a variety of different metals, the most common being aluminum alloys. Those are basically lightweight materials that are commonly found in a phone case. Lithium, cobalt oxide, and carbon graphite are used to make the batteries that go inside the cell phones. Those just keep them going. And then elements such as gold, copper, and even silver are used in the wiring of a cell phone. Platinum and tungsten are used in the circuitry. The metals in your cell phone are very rare metals, and 97% of them are actually mined in China. So then last but not least, we'll go on to the plastic. That is actually the third most common material. And plastic is used in the making of a case instead of metal. And they're used really to become resistant to damage. So if you drop it or scratch it, it doesn't just instantly break. They try and make it a little bit more durable than that. And it can also go up to extreme temperatures, whether it be freezing or hot. So that comes definitely in handy. And then I wanted to speak on recycling for a moment here. So if you were to consider all the materials that are used in your cell phone, it's a really wise choice to keep those out of the landfills and the trash. There's so many of them that just go into the trash, and that means really we're just wasting this copper and gold and among many other metals. So let's just try and keep them out of the landfill. This is a picture I chose to do. I just wanted to show you guys what the inside of a typical cell phone looks like. So this is an iPhone here, and you can see all the different types and parts that are associated with what we just talked about. We are going to go into the physics behind cell phones and how they actually work. So imagine you're just calling your friend on the other side of town, and you're chatting away, and your phone is actually doing so much more than you would think. Your phone actually converts your voice into an electrical signal, which is then transmitted as radio waves and converted back into sound by your friend's phone. A basic mobile phone is actually really like a walkie-talkie, if you think about it. This next slide is all about the costs and the production costs of actually making different types of cell phones. There's obviously just a plethora of smartphones available on the market now, and we can easily get a great device over any network that we choose. And so I chose to put that picture down there. It just is kind of saying that, hey, you can get a 2-year contract and we'll lower the price for you. And almost every cell phone company does that for you. They make you sign a contract and lower that retail price because a lot of people can't afford to spend $1,000 on a smartphone. And so consumers always want to get the most out of their money, and so they often do choose to sign those contracts. So I chose just a couple different iPhones to take a look at here. So the first one is the brand new Apple iPhone X, and the production cost of that is actually $370.25. And the retail price for that is $999. leaving a profit margin of 62.9%. So that means for every single iPhone out there, they're making 62% of that. And so going on to the next one, I chose to do maybe a little different one. So this one is actually an older one. It's an Apple iPhone 5S. The production cost of this is $218, so you can see it lowered quite a bit. However, the retail price really, for being several years old, is still pretty high, $150 less at $849, and that leaves their profit margin of 74%. Then to go a different route here, I chose to do a different company, so I chose to do Samsung Galaxy, which is actually one of the newer phones here, so you can do kind of a cost comparison. And the production cost of that is $232.50, and they sell theirs at a little bit lower of a price at $699, leaving them a 69.6% profit margin. So as you can see, these companies are making quite a bit of a profit on each smartphone that they are selling, and we're paying it because in our society today, this is how we live, and we expect to have those cell phones in our everyday life. All right, so next we're going to take a look at the different social outcomes that cell phones have put us in today, and kind of how they just impact our society. So to start off with, let's go over some pros. Accessibility, that is huge. It's something that can be a great thing, and it can also be a bad thing, so we'll hit on that here in just a minute. But as far as the pro to it, it's great if you want to be accessible. You can get a hold of work, you can get a hold of your family. You're just in that constant communication if you want to be. And so next, entertainment. There's thousands and thousands of apps out there in social media, and literally almost anything you can think of, there's an app for it. And so if you're ever bored waiting on something, there's always something that your cell phone can usually do to keep you preoccupied. And then as far as safety, that's a big one for me. If I'm out on the road and I hit a deer or something like that, I know that I at least have my cell phone nearby that I can call someone, and that kind of gives me some reassurance in traveling alone. Or as far as if you're out walking late at night by yourself or something like that, and something bad were to happen, you always have that cell phone you can call 911 or a family member and hopefully get you out of harm's way. As far as the cons go, radiation's a big one for me. Those radio waves really can do a lot of harm, and that's something that my generation especially doesn't really tend to admit that they care about, and it's something that maybe they're just not aware of, or think it's not going to happen to them. However, those can definitely be harmful. Attachment is a huge one in our society today. It seems that it just keeps getting younger and younger that kids have iPhones and cell phones, and it's really crazy how we do become attached to Facebook and Twitter, Instagram, or whatever social media, or the games even that you use. We feel like we have to have that constant connection with people, and that's how we get it, is through this cell phone. And so that's something that just I want to watch out for if I ever have kids, to keep an eye on the amount of time that my kids spend on it, as well as the age that they do get these phones. Also, kind of as I mentioned, the accessibility, the only time it could be a bad thing, I believe, is if you're really just wanting to get away and not have that access. A lot of times with my work, or even other people, they expect you to be reachable at all times because you do have that cell phone. Next, we're going to go over the changes in time and kind of how cell phones have developed. So they have developed greatly over the past few decades, and so they started out at bag phones, and a lot of my generation doesn't even know what those were or how they worked. Really just obviously used only for calling, and then we came out with flip phones, which had a little bit more to it, maybe a calculator. I believe there was internet on those. So they become a little bit more current, and then now we have our iPhones and Samsung Galaxies and everything. They can do anything on them. really there's an app for so many items, and so they really developed a long way. As far as disadvantages go, there's a couple that people may find in them. As far as cell network, if you live out in the middle of nowhere, there might not be a lot of cell network. There may not be a lot of towers out there, just depending on where you are, or depending on what provider you choose. That's something you need to keep in mind. Also, all those apps, and if you're on it a lot, it takes a lot of battery life, and so you need to keep that in mind as well, because if you're needing your phone for the actual purpose of calling someone and you spend all day on it, you may drain your battery. Also, the use of it at work and school has, honestly, in my opinion, became outrageous. People really just feel like they have to have their cell phone nearby and have to be texting someone or have to be on their social media, and I really think it's hurting grades if the teachers aren't holding their students accountable, and it's hurting employees if the management is allowing them to be on them like that. There are a couple of improvements that I think that they could do. I think battery life is a huge one. I think that there could be some potential to improve that, and then also lower prices and durability. I think that's a big one with them being made out of that glass. If they could make something that really just withstands a lot and even maybe waterproof, I think that could definitely be beneficial. Please feel free to reach out to me if you guys have any questions. Thanks so much. Have a good day.